الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن
Amin. Mariam, over to
Assalamu
you.
alaikum, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I would like to introduce everyone to Micah's Relationship Month, the month of August. We'll be taking our members and guests through a series of topics that are going to explore different types and sides of relationship, from relationship within ourselves to relationships that we have with potential partners, and when you eventually find a partner, how to maintain such relationship. And today's topic is going to be looking at relationship within ourselves and how to prepare ourselves before we go out there to find someone to complete us. And we have Mrs. Ghaneeyyah Sulaiman Olokodana not here today that is going to take us through that topic. Mrs. Ghaneeyyah is a trained clinical psychologist and a family life therapist. She has a BSc honors second class upper degree in psychology from the Ondo State University and an MSc degree in clinical psychology at the University of Lagos. Mrs. Ghaneeyyah also has participated and trained in Family System Engineering Certification Program at the Institute of Family Engineering and Development, and numerous online training and learning opportunities. I will now hand over to Mrs. Ghaneeyyah to take us through the topic. I really do hope that every one of us is able to learn something from these sessions and take away something with us. Mrs. Ghaneeyyah, I'll hand over to you now.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen. Thank you for once again having me on the live Zoom webinar. It's always a pleasure for me to speak on the Micah platform. This is my roots, Alhamdulillah. And welcome to everyone that has taken time to join us. Like Miriam said, inshallah, I'm supposed to be talking about relationships this month. And this first session will be mainly for the singles. Not that those of us that are married would not have something to gain, because whatever we're going to be talking about, it's of benefit to each and every one of us. But we just want to focus our attention. So most of the discussions will be based on people that are single. It's just a way to get them to understand how they can be happy while in their single status. Because singlehood is a phase. It's a phase just like being married. And it's a phase that no matter how short, each and every one of us would go through. It's something that is also encouraged in Islam. We are either married or we are single. There's that, that blurry part about, okay, is there an in-between between when you are single and when you are married? Where for others, people of other faiths, people of other cultures and understanding, they may want to say, oh, dating, for instance, is also a phase. But we know that as Muslims, dating is something that it's a bit dicey, so we need to be very, very careful. And while we we may not actively encourage, Muslim singles to date. We know that, yes, there's that period, no matter how short, between when they are single and when they are married, which for our own purposes, we may term as a courtship period. But from Islamic perspective, it's still seen as being single until you actually get married to each other. You have conducted the nikah, the akdu especially. You are still considered a single person. So everything that is not allowed for you to do as a single, is still binding on you. You can't say, oh, I've gone to meet his or her parents. They already know me. And for those of us that come from, different cultures, some of our cultures, once our children have brought maybe their prospective spouses to us, we tend to start calling them, oh, our wife or our husband. In Islam, that's not something that is necessarily accepted. So we need, as Muslims, to be cognizant of all these things. But having said all this, how do we, for those of us that are single, so I know quite a number of us are here. Do we have enough people so we can start the poll? To even know maybe like how many of us currently here are single? Or we wait a bit until more people have joined us.
Single.
Host?
Okay, I think we should wait because everything is going to come at the same time. All questions will come.
Okay. Okay, no problem then. Okay, so I'll just go ahead with my presentation. And then when we have at least a good enough number, we can do the polls. It's just to let us have an idea of, we know that as much.
I know, like me.
Oh, okay. I was can you hear me now? I think I was on mute. Hello? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
Okay.
We can hear you.
Okay, I just realized I was on mute earlier. Okay, so quickly, let's first try and define what singlehood even means, Like I tried to say earlier, it's a state of being unmarried, particularly from an Islamic perspective. As long as you haven't done your nikah, both of you have not signed the dotted lines, you have not met those 4 conditions of marriage from the Islamic perspective, your status still remains single. So don't say, oh, we've been together for 2 years, we've known each other since year 1 in the university, she has been to our family house, everybody in my family knows him or her, they are even calling him or her our wife or our husband. In Islam, that does not change your status from being single. The only thing that changes is when you actually conduct a nikah, an akdu nikah in the proper way. So singlehood is also not a status. It's a word that describes a person who is strong enough to live and enjoy life without necessarily depending on others. This month, we want to look about positive things. It's all about positivity. Our focus is looking at the positive side of everything. So that when, what they say, when we shift our focus, the things that we concentrate upon, the things that we focus on would, one way or the other, influence how we respond to our environment, how we live life. So we want to describe that person who is still single as being strong enough to live and enjoy life without depending on others. Most times I'm always getting calls, I'm getting people in my DMs, people sending me WhatsApp, oh, I'm single, I'm looking for a spouse, I'm looking for a partner, and they make it seem like it's a do or die affair. Some make it seem like, oh, because they are not yet married at a certain age, then something must be wrong with them. Yes, we know that Islam encourages us to get married as soon as possible and as soon as we are able to. But we should also realize that in Islam, Islam is a realistic religion, which is one of the reasons why I'm always so grateful to be a Muslim. Whether you are single or you are married, there are phases in your life that would just, what matters is that you live your life as a Muslim. So if you are not yet married through no fault of yours, then it's not reason for you to despair. It's not reason for you to think that, oh, you are not yet a proper Muslim, so to say. Yes, we know there's that hadith of the Rasul Sallallahu that says that, oh, when we get married, we fulfill half of our faith. But guess what? Operating on 50% is not a failure. It's not a bad thing. Some of us, that may be all that we need to make Jannah. What matters is at the end of the day, while we are in our single status, are we doing what is expected of us as Muslims? You know? So who is a single person? And to let us understand these things deeper. You know, if somebody married and never been married, or somebody who is widowed, yes, the person was once married but has lost the spouse, so the person reverts back to that single status. Or somebody who has been divorced. So yes, you got married a few years ago, but unfortunately, things didn't work out between you two. And then you had to part ways. So you go back to your single status. In Islam, again, once you have divorced from each other, you are no longer like eligible to each other. Both of you, you can't say, oh, even when we have children, we have 2 children between us. So this person was my former husband now, or she was my former wife. So you think that anytime you meet, it can be business as usual. No, in Islam, once the divorce is through, then the two of you are no longer you are no longer married, so to say. You revert back to your single status, and everything that is expected of singles is what is expected to happen between you two. A single person can also be somebody who is young and still in school. Yes, we know that schooling is not an excuse not to get married in Islam. But many of us, particularly those of us from this part of the world, we still living, we are people of cultures that to a large extent still expect that, oh, our children must attain a certain level of education before they get married. While some cultures, they don't see anything wrong. Once the child, boy or girl, most times girls, once that child is old enough, so to say, they can marry them off. But many of us still come from cultures where when we are still in school, we are still getting an education, we are expected to still be single. Sometimes it may not even be as a result of our age. We may be old enough, but we may be unemployed. Or even when we have a job, we are not earning enough to start a family. Particularly in this part of the world, getting married is not beans. You must be financially equipped. Yes, again, as Muslims, we do everything, for the sake of Allah. But the reality is that we can't just marry somebody if they don't have a visible or a reasonable means of income. They are not financially stable, so to say. Because again, in counseling, which is something I do a lot, one of the reasons why people start having problems in their marriages is because of finance. Finance is a major issue. So we don't want to encourage people getting married when they don't have the financial capability. Sometimes some of us are single because we are terrified of commitment. Some people are so afraid to take that next step. They are so terrified of making a commitment that even though they are now in their 40s, they are in their late 30s, we even have some 50-something-year-olds that have never been married. And some, because of this fear of commitment, they become like serial monogamists, so to say. They get married to somebody, but they can't fully commit, and then the marriage just keep falling apart. So they keep getting married for 2 years ago they were married to somebody, now they are divorced, they are planning to get married to another person and all that. Sometimes this is as a result of fear of commitment. Again, some people cannot just get married. They have to be single, either because they have mental health issues that need to be addressed. a person that is not in their right frame of mind, so to say, that has one mental disorder or the other, may need to get cured of that first before before encouraging them to get married. Sometimes somebody could also be impotent. For instance, a man that medically has been proven that, oh, this person cannot have a child. That may be a reason for somebody to remain single. Except, of course, maybe the person now meets someone a woman who has been married before, has kids, maybe is now divorced or widowed, and doesn't mind. So that kind of person can get married. But some people remain single because they have this medical condition. And even if anybody is desirous of getting married and have this kind of problem, it's expected for us as Muslims that they open up, they make full disclosure about issues like this. Why are some of us single? Even with all these reasons that I've given. Why? Because we see that some people, even though they fit this bill, they still have reasons why they are still in this their single status, so to say. Sometimes it may be because we just haven't found what we call our soulmate. You know, some of us are looking, we are so romantic. We are waiting for that moment where, you know, our hearts will tell us that, yes, this person is the one. And so anybody that we meet that we think doesn't quite meet those criteria, we are not willing to get married to them. Some of us just don't want to get married. Some of us have been married and probably widowed. We may not want to go that, you know, that line again because we loved our spouse too much, you know, or those ones that they have been married before and had issues and had to get a divorce. They might have been so traumatized by that experience that they don't want to, you know, they don't want to try again. Some think they are not old enough, even at 25, at 30, at 40. They think they are not old enough to get married. Some want to finish their first degree. They want to finish their masters. They want to, after masters, they want to do PhD and all that. You know, some of us want to, first of all, get a job in the big four, the multinationals, the telecoms, the oil and gas industry before we get married. We want to be earning a certain amount. Oh, if I don't have 30 billion in my account, I'm not getting married. You know, or you want your business to be worth X amount of money before you get married. There are also some people that are single because they are afraid of being hurt. Fear of being hurt is also one of the leading, you know, factors why some people are still single. They are so afraid of being hurt that they don't even want to try. They don't want to make an effort. They don't want to, you know, become emotionally vulnerable to other people. And yet for some others, it's because they don't want to be responsible. There's some people, you know, there's this funny movie that was shown a while back, and this common saying that some people are Yoruba demons, you know, men who, by all standards, they have everything that it takes to be married. They are old enough, they are educated enough, they are physically attractive enough, they have the financial muscle, but they just don't want to get married because they don't want to be responsible. They want to sow their wild oats, so to say. They want to have fun. There are some people like that, so they don't want to be responsible. And sometimes some of us may also think that, oh, we are not obligated to get married. As Muslims, is that something that we think, you know, it's allowed for us? I'll leave us to answer that question. But back to us, to the singles. Well, I'm no longer a single, thankfully. But back to those of us that are single, how can we live happily during this phase of our life? Because like I said earlier, singlehood is a phase that everyone must pass through, no matter how short. Even if it's just for a day or a few hours, we must go through that phase of singlehood. And how well we navigate it is what matters. So how do we ensure that we are able to successfully navigate this phase, particularly for us as Muslims? we live in trying times, really. And like I'd mentioned earlier, some other cultures, some other faiths, some other societies, they see that, oh, before you get married, you can experiment. Some people are living, they are doing everything a married couple should do without the necessary contract between them. So you're like, what the heck? What's the rush? Let's take our time. Some date, members of the opposite sex to experience what married life would be like. They want to know whether marriage is something that they can go through eventually. So they date each other for years and years and years. In fact, some date each other for so long that the moment they become engaged, they now decide to get married. That's when everything starts to fall apart. But we know that as Muslims, this is not something that is encouraged, because as Almighty Allah has told us in Quran 24 verse 33, and I'll read an English translation of it, that and let those who find no means of marriage keep themselves chaste until Allah grants them one out of his bounty. So we see that singlehood for us as Muslims is a state where we still need to maintain our modesty. We need to maintain our chastity, because these things are expected of us as Muslims. We can't say, oh, yeah, I'm not married now, but I have feelings, so let me indulge myself. A single person in Islam, a single Muslim, is not expected to be engaged in premarital sex, for instance, to do things that is only allowed within the confines of marriage in Islam. So being single is not a time for us to commit zina as Muslims. It's not a time for us to live a carefree life. It's not a time for us to sow our wild oats. We live in a world where, the badder in quotes you are as a guy, for instance, the more people will, they will hail you, that guy is a bad guy, any woman that crosses his path, you will just crush her. That is not how you describe a Muslim single. For us as Muslims, being single is a time for us to grow spiritually. So we can make the best use of this state by, improving ourselves in learning more about the deen, connecting more with our Lord. We can also develop ourselves intellectually. So you want to, yes, you've not found somebody to marry yet. Okay, take the time to get that certification that you need to acquire more skills, to improve yourself financially. So do that business that you've always wanted to do. Take that business risk. Take that career risk, change your career, go for something that would enable you to earn more. Prepare yourself psychologically and socially for marriage. It's a time to prepare. It's not a time that you just sit down and wait and then expect that, oh yes, when you finally meet somebody. So you've been going to Micah for 3 years. You've not bothered to improve yourself. You've not bothered to improve your skills. And then you just meet somebody and you think that, oh, yes, now I'm ready to get married. Things will just fall into place. No, you as Muslims, we must prepare for everything. We know that knowledge is very key in marriage. In Islam. And getting ready for marriage, preparing adequately, acquiring the necessary skill is something that is also expected of us. Sometimes for us, while we are still in this single state, we need to experience what we call self-love. Many of us, if we are not happy with who we are when we are alone, we project that unhappiness into our relationship, whether it's even not necessarily our marital relationship. At work, yes, we are still single, but if we are not happy with ourselves as who we are as individuals, we are not happy in our own company, we are not feeling fulfilled. That unhappiness may be projected in our workplaces, it may be projected in our communities, we are not happy with other people. So it's only natural that when we also get into relationships, this same unhappiness we cascade into our relationship and we can't get the best out of it. So how do we enjoy self-love, even as singles? like I've always said, it's not easy for us as Muslims to find love, particularly in this increasingly globalized world where, you know, there are so many discrepancies, even amongst the Muslim community. Everybody with, you know, the world becoming a global village, we are getting influenced by so many things. So we see that, yes, now even in the Muslim communities, we have some people that will say, oh, there's nothing wrong in a woman being the imam, leading the congregation in Jumat. We'll see some people that will say, oh, there's nothing wrong in being Muslim and gay, for instance. The LGBTQ community is having, you know, an influence even amongst us Muslims. So all these things shows that we need to be careful. But we know that certain things are sacrosanct in Islam. Marriage is one of them. And marriage in Islam can only be between two people who are members of the opposite sex. That is the commandment of Allah. And in his wisdom, he knows why he has made it such. And if we even look at it, it's for our own good. So we are not going to be looking at all those other discrepancies. We are looking at, you know, how to be single and Muslim, inshallah. Singleness, like I said, is not a status. It's a period for you to live and enjoy life happily without necessarily depending on other people. Because again, sometimes some of us, we think that it's only when we are in relationships that we can be happy. So when we are not currently in a relationship, we can't see ourselves as being happy. We think that we don't deserve happiness. And so we are concentrating our efforts on just getting into that next relationship so that we can be happy. This is not necessarily so. Sometimes it's actually mentally healthier for you to take some time to be alone, if you can. And during this period, you can learn to love yourself more. Because being single allows you to learn what you really want and need from your future relationships. So that you don't have to settle for people who may be wrong for you. Inshallah, we're going to quickly look at some, you know, things that we can do to develop what I've earlier said as self-love. You know, self-love stems from a place of self, just like the world says. Because the way you treat yourself will set the standard for the way others will treat you. If you don't love yourself, somehow unconsciously, you are going to reflect this. Whenever people come in contact with you, your communication, your countenance, your interaction with other people will reflect this, you know, your inability to love yourself. And they would in turn respond to you without the love that you need. So the way you treat yourself will set the standard for others to treat you. At the same time, how do we ensure that, you know, self-love helps us to create a great relationship when we eventually get into one, inshallah? The truth is that when we truly love and respect ourselves as individuals, as human beings, as a Muslim, as a servant of Allah, we are free from doubt and endless worry. We don't really have to care what other people think about us. We are our own yardstick. We are comparing ourselves. We are comparing ourselves today with ourselves yesterday. We are not comparing ourselves with what will people say. What will people think about me? We are not trying to keep up with the Joneses, so to say. So we worry less and, you know, have less doubt. And that way we can trust our feelings and our decisions. And invariably, this will allow us to be more courageous and more authentic. Some of us, we are like Jekyll and Hyde. We are one person when we are alone, and then we are another person when we are with other people. Some of us, when we are in the midst of others in our social gatherings, we are so, you know, we are so cheerful. People will see us as extroverts. But when we get back into our closet, we crawl back into our shell, and then we are back to being our introvert. And we are not happy. We are showing different phases of ourselves. You know, we're like two different people. And whenever we have to do that, if we have to be a different person from who we really are, just to make people like us, just to, you know, feel accepted in our social circles, then that in itself is a problem. We're not going to be authentic. So we should stop looking for love and instead focus on ourselves as individuals. Right now, at this minute, if you find out, oh yes, I'm in a single state, I consider myself a single. Please, before you start, getting agitated about going into the next relationship, finding somebody who you think would make you happy. Hello, please sit down and think of how you can make yourself happy. Concentrate, focus on self-love, how to be better, how to feel, to feel your best in your own skin. And honestly, when you are the best of yourself, you can only attract people that would also be the best for you. When we are single and we focus on self-love, we can stop focusing on negativity. We can, get into the present of accepting ourselves for who we are and seeing how we can improve on our current, strength, while we are also making efforts to eliminate as many of our flaws as we can. But we should realize that as human beings, nobody can ever be perfect. So it's not about us becoming 100%. It's about us striving. And we know that even in Islam, striving is something that we are encouraged to do. Because guess what? That is what Allah always rewards us for. Allah does not expect us to be perfect. Imagine if all the Muslims in the world were not committing sin. We were not, messing things up. We were not doing things that Allah has said we should not do. Allah has told us that He will just wipe us off and create a new set of people that will commit sin, misbehave, mess up, treat each other badly, just so that they can, come to Him in repentance, in sincere repentance, because that's one of His attributes, He's the all-forgiving God. So it's not about us attaining perfection. It's about us constantly striving, moving from A to B, taking it one step at a time, whether it's giant baby step or, small steps. What matters is how we become better each and every day. And that's also something we can do when we are practicing self-love. Self-love is an ongoing thing. If we start now that we are single, then we can also continue even when we meet somebody. We are constantly improving ourselves. So when we eventually get into relationships and get married, then our relationship can only go from, good to better to best. Even when we are not married yet, our relationships at work, with our neighbors, with our colleagues and our bosses, even for those of us that have our own businesses, with our employees, can only get better. So what does self-love really look like? Really, this self-love that I've been talking about, what does it look like? How do we attain it? What is expected of us to be able to, experience what self-love is? Really, self-love is about prioritizing your dreams and making an effort to do the things that inspire and light you up. One of the things I've noticed, I've been in counseling for over 20 years now, and I've over and over again, I have seen that, unfortunately for some, once they get into a relationship, the other person becomes their focus. They forget about their own needs. And sometimes it can be detrimental to them, particularly if, such people are, like I had mentioned earlier, we think that the way to be accepted is to do things that please others, even when it's not something we would ordinarily do. So you see somebody that was probably planning to do her master's degree, and then she meets a brother, and because I want to get married, I want to be in a relationship, and the brother has said something like, me, I don't want a woman that will go and that will have masters, or this BSc or HND that I've done is enough for me. My wife must not have masters, not to even talk of PhD. Then she just kills that dream in herself. Rather, shouldn't you look for somebody that would accept you, would even encourage you to aim higher, to go for your dreams, to achieve your dreams, even if they don't have such a dream. So yes, he doesn't want to have more than a BSc, no problem. But must he be comfortable only when you also have to now kill your dream? So self-love is about prioritizing your dreams and making an effort to do the things that inspire you. When you are alone, you can concentrate on doing this. It's about saying no to the things you don't agree with and things that don't fit into your plan. So you have set goals for your life, your academic career, your spiritual life, your psychological health. You, as Muslims, we must set goals for all these things. We must know where we want to get to in terms of our spirituality. We must know what we are aiming for in terms of our professions. How high do we want to go in our chosen career? Do we want to get into a company and rise through the ranks and hopefully become the managing director? Do we want to work for a few years and save enough to start our own business? What are our future plans? Our short term, our middle term, and our long term goals? As Muslims, when you are single, this is the right time for you to start thinking about those things without the distractions of a relationship. So when you start making those plans now, you are able to say no to the things that you don't agree with and things that will not fit into your plan. So if in your plan for career, you want to get to a certain level in your profession, you want to work in a certain place, the moment you meet somebody that doesn't look like they're going to, aid you on that journey, then you know that this can't be the right person for me. But it takes you writing this down, articulating it properly, to even know that anybody that is coming into my life that is not fitting this plan cannot be the right person for me. If we don't have these things written down, then when somebody just comes into our lives and starts saying some whatever, that even if we don't agree with it, then we want to let go. We want to jeopardize our own future just so we can be in a relationship. Self-love is also about deciding to spend time with people that would support you, encourage you, and motivate you to be the best version of yourself. Now that you are single, one of the ways you practice self-love is to ensure that, look, I'm going to guard my space. I'm going to determine who comes into my inner world. I'm going to determine who makes an influence in my life so that I don't end up in the wrong crowd. If you want to become a more religious person, for instance, then you should know that, I'm going to have to, have more people around me that would also encourage me spiritually. So you want to make friendship with people that when it's time for Salat, they are encouraging you to say, let's go and pray, let's leave everything. In fact, they are planning their daily schedule with such things in mind, So you have to be conscious about these things. You have to take decisions when you are single and you are practicing self-love. You must be able to own your thoughts and opinions. Part of developing that self-love is for you to be assertive in owning your thoughts and opinions so that you are not swayed by other people. You are not being persuaded to please others, even at the risk of your own, your own happiness. Self-love is about being gentle with yourself, about talking kindly to yourself. Be sweet with yourself, for God's sake. Be kind. Don't be harsh, Some of us think that Islam is about everything is hard. I'm not praying. I must pray tahajjud every day. I must wake up for 3 hours. You have a busy schedule. You are living in one side of Lagos and it will take you hours to get to work. You be kind to yourself. Be realistic. It may not be realistic for you to wake up every night for tahajjud. At this time, it's not that it's something that is not achievable, but that's not what you set your starting goals are. Take it one step at a time. Be realistic enough to know that, maybe for the next 3 months, let me even try to wake up once a week and pray for tahajjud. And perhaps that will be weekends when, I'm less busy, I don't have to go to work. Then when you become comfortable and you are doing that more regularly and constantly, then you can move to twice a week. Then, gradually. And that's the striving that I mentioned earlier that Allah wants to see us doing. Because when we are too hard on ourselves, we take on too many things at the same time, then we will not be able to continue. We must also take the time to nourish our mind, our bodies, and our soul. As Muslims, we can't overemphasize this. You know, there's that thing, I think it's a hadith of the Rasul Sallallahu, where he said that your body has a right over you. You must nourish your body, your mind with halal things. Whatever you learn, what you see, what you put into your brain, into your mind, must be things that are halal. Whatever form of exercise you want to engage with, whatever food you are eating, where you spend your time must be things that nourish you, that make you a better Muslim. You're not doing things at your own detriment, to your own detriment. You're not doing things that, God forbid, as they always say, if death comes now, wherever death catches you, are you going to be happy? Are you going to be sure that if death catches you in this place, your Jannah is assured? As Muslims, we're always thinking of the hereafter, 24/7. We're not saying, it's only weekends I'll be spiritual. When I'm at work, let me forget spirituality. It's a wicked world out there. Everybody for himself, survival of the fittest. So I'll do things that even if they are not in line with my religious beliefs. No, a Muslim is a Muslim at every point in time, in every aspect of their life, because they know that Allah may decide to take their soul at any point, and they want to ensure that they are in a state where, at least if they die in that state, then inshallah, Jannah will be guaranteed. You spend your money on things that will make you feel amazing, you know, particularly if you are working, you are already enjoying a bit of financial period. Self-love is about recognizing that you also need to spend on yourself to make yourself happy. Some of us, yes, because of the hardship or our upbringing, alhamdulillah, we got good grades in school. Now we have good jobs, but it's all about spending for other people. So we know that we have responsibilities. My parents have suffered to send me to school. I need to start sending money to them. I need to take care of my younger ones. I have to pay for their schooling and all that. And we kill our own dreams sometimes. There's nothing wrong in doing all these things, but self-love also means that we put ourselves in the future, in the picture. We do things also just for ourselves, to make us feel good, to make us feel happy, while investing in our future. We must be able to visualize the kind of life that we want. Like Peter Drucker said, create the future. Create your own future. You know?
Why great?
Can people mute their mic, please, so that you are not distracting us? Thank you. So there are so many things that we can, that we get to benefit when we practice self-love. But more importantly, self-love begins with self-acceptance. If we don't accept ourselves, what's and all, if we don't acknowledge our strengths and our weaknesses, we are not going to be able to practice self-love. Whatever you look like, whether you are tall, dark, or handsome, or beautiful, you are light-skinned or dark-skinned, you are from this state or that tribe, it doesn't matter. Self-love is about accepting who you are, what you are, whether good or bad. Once, that self-acceptance is like the first hurdle. You can now then be realistic enough to look at the things that you need to do to work on yourself to be better. You are short, for instance. Can you do anything about that? No. Unless you want to be wearing high heels, and that can only be for women. A man that is short cannot be wearing 6-inch shoes. So you really can't do anything about that. And guess what? Whoever would love you for that, irrespective of that. We have men that are shorter than their wives. Even at some point, when we look at them, we don't even notice it anymore. Some women they are much taller than their husbands. So these are not things that matter. If you concentrated effort on, becoming the best version of yourself, your height to somebody who doesn't care about height, your height would not be an issue, So you can't hide behind, makeup, for instance, or trying to change certain parts of your body. Because yes, even amongst us Muslims now, we are doing all these things. We are going for plastic surgery and all that just because we want to look good. You know, many of us are doing things that that we are not supposed to do as Muslims. So we need to be careful. We can have a short break now so that we can have time to take the polls, and then we'll move on from there. So admin, can we have the polls now, please?
Quadri.
I'm going to see it now.
Yes.
Okay. You are not doing Okay, sorry, please, you can continue. I'll come back right away.
Okay, all right, okay. So moving on. Okay, I hope I haven't even lost us. I hope I've just not been rambling since. Can we have some people comment how far are we following so far? Can we have some responses from the participants? So that it's not like I've just been talking over people's heads. Are we following so far with the points I've been trying to make? Please, let's have some.
Please, if anyone has any questions, can you please send it to the chat box so Mrs. Ghaneeyyah can answer them?
Okay, okay, Alhamdulillah. Okay, people are following. Okay, Alhamdulillah. So at least I know that I'm not talking over people's heads. Mashallah. Okay, so like I was saying, how do we practice this self-help? The truth of the matter is that for some of us, it's something that we may find a bit tough. It may be something that would need a bit of help. For many others, I mean, these things come easy, which somehow is part of the blessings that Allah has, you know, given us, is that we are able to do these things on our own. So they don't need too much of an external encouragement. They know what they need to do to improve themselves. If they want to start praying Tahajjud more regularly, they know what they need to do. If they want to get an extra certification professionally, they know the things they need to do. But for some, they may need help. And the truth of the matter is that with anything in life, you never go wrong when you seek help. You never go wrong. In fact, in Islam, we are encouraged to ask those who know if we don't. It's an Islamic injunction. So seeking knowledge is something that is encouraged in Islam. To the extent that if you even make any mistake while seeking error, Allah would even reward you for the effort. For the effort. So as Muslims, we need to understand these things, that it's not just about us being single, it's also about us being single and Muslim, like I said earlier. So sometimes the key to getting off may often require nothing more than taking that time to get to know and improve yourself before you try to get to know someone else. And I'll just quickly try to mention some things that we can do. I'd mentioned earlier about, you know, that Peter Drucker's famous quote that the best way to predict the future is to create it. What kind of future do you want for yourself? In the next 5 years, in the next 10 years, even in the next 2-3 years, where do you see yourself? You need to write these things down. You need to set your goals. And when you write down, I always say it, anytime you write down, there's this thing about, you know, what they say, the universe conspiring to make it happen. When you write your future plans down, one way or the other, with Allah's help and your own conscious effort, then you will see that things would begin to align to make whatever you have written down your reality. So you also have to ensure that what you are writing down is something that, you know, that will be good for you. So the future that you want to create is something that, you know, this future, the end goal of this future has to be Jannah. So the future you want to create shouldn't be something that will take you out of Islam. Wa alaikum salam.
Yeah, we can launch it now.
Okay. All right. So let's have the first. Let's have the pros, just to give us something. Thank you, Latifa. I'm happy that the points are resonating with you. That's the idea. So alhamdulillah, jazakumullah khairan for the positive feedback.
I've launched the poll so we can all respond to it. Can we see?
Okay. I can't seem to see the poll myself. What do I need to do? Sorry, I'm still a bit old school.
It's going to pop up on your screen. People are already filling it.
Okay, I'm not seeing. I'm just seeing poll in progress. I'm not seeing it on my own screen.
Oh, okay, because you're a co-host.
Oh, okay. No problem then.
You
Okay.
will see the result.
Okay. So when they are through, how do I have access to the results so that I can some of my thoughts can be, some of the things I want to say can speak to our reality.
Yeah, I'll share the results. I should share the results.
Yeah, and all that. Okay. Yes, that's all Hiram. Okay, I think someone is waiting to be okay.
How many minutes do you want it to take?
Okay, I mean, most of them are yes or no. Just, it shouldn't take too long. It shouldn't take too long. So let's just give a few minutes. I hope you are also feeling it too. And you know, most of the poll is mostly for people that are single. Since today is about them, so that we can see how many of us that are here. We are representative of the Ummah, so we want to know how many people are single, and get some data that we can use to help and move forward, inshallah. Okay, how far?
Okay, we can continue. I'll share the result. I think I see
Okay.
a technical issue here.
Okay. Some people try to say they can't see the poll. Are we through?
Yes, I'll look for the result and share it. I think I'm having a technical issue. I'm trying to monitor from 2 devices. So.
Okay, all right, no problem. Okay, so we'll talk about the results from the polls later in the course of the discussion, inshallah. So moving on, like I said.
Do we want to do do we want people to start posting their questions at this time?
Okay, yes, they can start posting and then one of the admins can collate them so that perhaps I can even answer as I'm speaking. You know, this is supposed to be on the spot. Let's talk about the issues we are actually dealing with. It's not theory, it's reality, it's practical. So people can post questions and then if my attention is called to it, it may be, I can relate it with whatever points I want to make. That will make it work better and faster, right? Okay. So like I said, one of the things we can do is to create our own future. That ensures that we can predict where our future is going. Even as Muslims, Allah has told us, if we do things this way, this way, this way, this is the end result. Islam is like an open book exam. If you go in a certain path, you know where you're going to end up. People that will end up in Jannah, Allah has told us the steps they will take. People that will end up in Jahannam, so Allah has told us the steps they will take. So you already, as Muslims, you can predict your future. And so a better way to predict that future is to create it. What kind of a Muslim do you want to be? What kind of a future do you want to have? Where do you want to end up at the end of the day? You know, some of us will always say, please, if it's just boys' quarters in Jannah, please let me just have. If that's the kind of perception that we have, we'll work towards it. So we may just do things, you know, let's just meet cut off, you know, let's do things like, you know, somebody that the Rasul said in one of the hadith that when he came to ask him, I said, what do I need to do to make Jannah? And the Rasul said, basic things, say your regular prayers, you know, fast during the month of Ramadan, pay zakat if you have the means, go for Hajj if you have the means, and all that. If you do those basic things, no more, no less, then be assured that Jannah is guaranteed for you. So there are some of us like that. We just want to
Can you
do
see the
the
results
basic.
of the poll? Shall I? Sorry.
Yeah, okay. The results, right?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, wow. So for people that are attending, we have 95% are single. That's a high percentage. So you see that at any point that we always have more singles. We always have more singles. 95% of us here are single. For those of us that are, so now the question is about people that are single only. 46% are single but not searching. 16% are single but entangled. I hope it's not the kind of Will Smith's entanglement too. So we need more information on that, your entanglement. 16%. And then 41% are single and searching. Okay. So even though we have more people single and not searching, at least the people that are single and searching is also quite high. Those of us that are single and not searching, I hope it's not for any of those reasons that I earlier mentioned. Of those of us that are single, this is another of our reality. 78% are female. You know, almost every time we find out that there are usually more females that are single than male. And for those of us that are single, we have almost 60% of us have at least a first degree, BSc or HND. That's very good. Another 30% have gone ahead to, you know, acquire an MSc or MBA degree. That's good. And 14% have at least PhD or professional certification. So, I mean, this is really, really encouraging. It shows that many of us, we're already doing the things that we need to do. You know, we're already doing the things that we need to do to make ourselves better, even while single. Someone chatted me privately and said their qualification wasn't there. So I told the person to choose the one that was closest. So it just shows that, yes, I thought about it. I know there will be some of us that would probably have maybe just school SAT or HND. But I wanted to just have an idea that majority of us as Muslims, at least, we are going ahead to improve ourselves educationally. How many of us are ready to get married in the next 6 months? Just 27%. 27%. In the next 1 year, we have about 32%. And 43% of us don't even know yet. 43%, that's almost half, don't know when they want to get married. So it shows that, you know, a number of us are still, we just want to be single for now. So you see why it's even important that while we are single, we need to practice self-love. We need to practice self-love. I know time is going, so I'll quickly try to round off. And I was trying to say how do we practice that self-love? Practical things that we can do. First, we need to create that future that we want. As Muslims, we can do that. Again, because we are Muslims, we must believe and pray. We should never underestimate the power of prayer. Istiara is a tool that each and every one of us can use, particularly even as singles. Now, you don't have anybody that will be appearing in your dreams and coloring that your Istiara. Now that you are single, is the time to pray to Allah, ask Him for guidance about the kind of career you want to embark upon, the journey you want to take in the next few years, the kind of person you want to marry. After you have written down all your criteria, take it to Allah in prayer. And of course, it's not just about praying. You must also believe that whatever you have prayed for, Allah would certainly grant your prayer. Your attitude also matters. You must have the right attitude. Whatever you want to do, ensure that you are doing it for the sake of Allah. We know that marriage is an act of ibadah. So your intention is to please Allah. And so while you are single, ensure that you are becoming the best person, the kind of person you want to marry. You must also have to ensure that you as an individual, when that person meets you, they will find you attractive enough. They'll find you eligible enough. They'll find you spiritual enough, financially stable enough. You will have all the criteria that they also want. Imagine that you want to marry a lawyer. You know that by virtue of their profession, a lawyer would not want to be associated with somebody that has criminal tendencies. So as a Muslim, you also want to ensure that you're not carrying baggage that, you know, the kind of person you want to marry will not be worried about. One of the ways to practice self-love is also to ensure that we are in good company. Yes, unfortunately, with this COVID-19...
Sorry to cut you short, Ma. I just want to let everyone know that we'll be going over by about 10 to 15 minutes to questions.
Okay.
You can continue.
Okay, I'm rounding off. I have just a few more slides. So we want to ensure that we are in good company. When you ensure that a lot of your friends are people that share your values, because most times we are who we associate with. Even the Rasul Sallallahu has told us that a person will be raised in the company of the kind of friends that they had. We want to ensure that the kind of values that we uphold, our friends also share the same, so that they are not, taking us out of of the path we want to choose for ourselves. So we must learn to keep good company, whether it's at work, in our neighborhoods, and all that. We must also learn to be in the right places at the right time. Imagine all the single Muslims that are out there. How many of us actually found this webinar worthy enough for us to create that time, to spend our data, spend our time joining to learn how to improve ourselves? So we need to learn how to be in the right places. If we look at the life of the Rasul, we see that the people that were closest to him, that were, mostly in his company, were also the people that, Allah promised Jannah. So when you are in the right company, you can only get the benefits of, of the goodness that comes from being in good company. A little exposure never hurts anybody. Yes, you are single. Yes, you want to practice self-love, but you also need to take advantage of activities, of programs where you are likely to meet other singles like yourself, because that's the only way you can get to interact, to form friendships that can hopefully, develop into something more serious. Volunteer for Islamic causes. Don't just stay on your own. Don't hide yourself and think that, when it's time for me to get married, the right person will come along. Sometimes you need to be where that right person would meet you, inshallah. And finally, like I always tell people, don't wait for your Mr. or Mrs. Right. Sometimes you need to go and find them. So while you are practicing self-love, part of this is developing that confidence that you need to know that, yes, I'm good enough for anybody that wants to marry me. And I'm happy that I even know that I am. So sometimes that confidence is what many of us are lacking, such that when anybody just comes, somebody that, you know, if we're not using hijab, this person will not even think to marry us, will not be good enough for us. Or if I didn't have a beard, this sister will not even be saying she wants to marry me. Whether you are, I mean, even as a consciously practicing Muslim, you still need, there's nothing wrong in getting the best that you deserve. You want certain criteria. There are certain standards that you're not going to fall short of. Put those things down, write them down, so that anybody that comes, even if they are Muslim, truth is, whatever you want in a spouse, Islam, there's a Muslim that will meet those criteria. So you need to set the right standards for yourself. May Allah make it easy. This is a continuous journey. May Allah make it easy for us to continuously improve ourselves and be better each and every day. May Allah forgive me for whatever mistakes I have made. I will now pause for questions, inshallah. Jazakumullah khairan once again.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Ghaneeyyah, for that. That was a very insightful session. May Allah continue to increase your knowledge and bless you for taking us through this. Can everyone please send their questions so she can begin to answer those for us? You can send the questions directly to her. You can just send it to the group, the group chat. Yeah.
Hello, Assalamu alaikum. And for anyone who is comfortable speaking, just raise your hand and we'll unmute you.
Okay. Okay. Okay, while waiting, let me respond to the person that's Jazakallah for saying that was a good lecture. Yes, there's numerous Quranic verses and hadiths that talk about self-love. You know, I mean, the most common one that I know almost all of us know is that Quranic verse about, you know, Allah not changing our condition unless and until we change that which is within ourselves. As Muslim, change is the only thing that is constant. We must continuously improve upon who we are. Like I said, our yesterday our today must be better than our yesterday. So as Muslims, if we don't change our condition, Allah Himself will not change it for us. We have to take that necessary first step. Okay, someone is asking what entanglement in the poll means. Entanglement, it was just a fun way, but you know, I mean, that we had about 16% of the participants say they are in an entanglement. Entanglement is, some of us, yes, we are Muslims, we are trying our best to practice, but we know that the reality is some of us are still finding it hard to live that Islamic way of life. We are not judging anyone. We are just, I mean, doing some of these things to make you become better. We know that Islam, when Islam, you know, enjoins us to do certain things, it always provides us with options. So we, as an organization, we are presenting those options, those attractive Islamic options for those of us that are still finding it difficult to make that transition, to live that, you know, life. So we know there are some people amongst us, they are in relationships that are not necessarily Islamic. That's between them and Allah. But we know that, I mean, as Muslims, it's about us becoming better. So we are hoping that they can move from that entanglement position to something that is more Islamic, inshallah. Okay, so do we have more questions? Okay, searching for a spouse in the right setting. Does Micah have spouse searching mechanism in place? I believe so. I know we do. I mean, one of the purposes for which Micah was established was to encourage social interactions between Muslim singles that ultimately would lead to marriages and all that. So
Can I add to that we also have an event coming up at the end of the month that is targeted at singles meeting each other. on Zoom,
Okay.
since we can't mingle in person. That's going to be happening in the last week of August, and
Okay.
more information on that will be shared with the rest of the
Okay. Okay, that's good. I know attending to the needs of single is something that is high priority for Micah as an organization. So there will always be something. We'll always find ways to go around, even with this COVID-19 restrictions. Alhamdulillah. Okay, so in the absence of any more questions, can I go ahead and thank everybody for giving me a chance to share some of my thoughts? I hope that I was able to say something that you found useful, and whatever errors I may have made, please forgive me. It's strictly due to my own shortcoming, and I ask Allah to also forgive me. And whatever I said that you found useful, may Allah grant me the best reward, and may Allah also make that knowledge useful for you in a positive way. Jazakumullah khairan once again to the organizers for inviting me. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakumullah khairan, Sister Ghaneeyyah. May Allah continue to honor you and bless your steps.
Ameen.
Let us all recite Surah to Kawthar for Sister Ghaneeyyah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Jazakumullah khairan for your time and for your delivery. Thank you so much.
Alhamdulillah. You're welcome. I see you.